Hello, Steve Persch here, lead developer advocate from Pantheon. I'm at DrupalCon Seattle 2019. I'm talking with Andrea Powell. Andrea is a senior UX designer at Blue State Digital. Andrea, I heard an exciting phrase from you just now, Agile Sandwich.
Yeah.
I want to know what an Agile Sandwich is.
So at our agency, we are trying to find ways to work more iteratively with our clients. We do web design, platform design, in addition to a bunch of other advocacy and fundraising type initiatives. But it ended up, it was hard for us to kind of like really get into a truly agile mindset from start to finish because we work on like limited engagements, right? So we work with clients for a certain period of time. They have a certain budget for the project, and they really need to know kind of going in roughly what they're going to be getting out of it.
Yes.
So how do we mesh the idea of agile with kind of the framework of a waterfall?
Yes.
So basically what we've kind of ended up landing on, we've been iterating on this for a while. So we start out every project with a discovery period where we're doing our user research, we're getting to know the problem and the context of the organization, their digital landscape, what they're trying to do with their site. We start to define some of the features that we're going to need to be building out. And then we plan at a high level what we need to accomplish during the sprints. So then we kind of dive into, we've done some framing, we've figured out the rough shape of what we're going to be building.
Sure.
And then we dive in and go through a series of anywhere from like 6 to 10 UX design and development sprints. And sometimes it can kind of change as we're going. So we start out knowing what the first couple are going to be, but then we can kind of adjust as we go along. And then once we've kind of built out as much as we can in that time period, then we stop kind of the agile approach and we kind of go back to user acceptance testing and kind of wrapping up all the assets and things like that. So we have a structured front and back end of the project, but then in the middle we're kind of trying to keep it as flexible as possible to account for things that we learn during the process that we then want to incorporate into what we're building. So it's not as structured in the middle.
Sure, that makes sense. A lot of customers in the Drupal and WordPress space, they need a website. If they're going to engage a project, they need to know that they are going to get a completed website at the end of that budget, or ideally before the end of that budget.
Yes, exactly.
So here at DrupalCon, you're talking about the engagement that Blue State Digital did with Teach for America. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so last year, Teach for America came to us. They wanted to redesign their website, and in particular, the logged in applicant experience. So basically when somebody is joining the core, or when they want to, they have to go through a really rigorous application process because, you know, we're looking for people who maybe don't have an education background but who could learn, who are willing to maybe move a really far distance to become a teacher, who are able to withstand the rigors of maybe working in a really difficult educational context. And so because that, that's a lot of requirements, the application process, which is all done online in a Java app, is really complex. So we were redesigning the public-facing site on Drupal 8, moving from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, but then at the same time also trying to bring in things that we knew from the Java app application so that we could make sure that we had a lot of personalized prompts and reminders and personalized information for somebody who was signed in on the application. So we launched it last year, so that you can go see the new site right now. You can't really see the application unless you're applying to Teach for the Core, but if you are interested, please apply to Teach for the Core. They always need more amazing teachers. Yeah, but it was a really great initiative.
Yeah, and you mentioned Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 migration. That's a hot topic here at the convention this year. Do you have advice for people who are looking at their Drupal 7 site or sites and thinking, how am I going to get to Drupal 8 or Drupal 9?
I think, so I'm less of a technical person, but the things that we've been hearing is just, organizations that want to be more prepared for the future and kind of set themselves up for success and an ever-growing site are trying to kind of make that big lift right now to get from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, but are seeing it as an investment and kind of having a more accessible site, which Drupal 8 is, and more flexible for future growth. But one thing we were also experimenting with in Teach for America was an atomic design approach, which is just a different, a more modular way of thinking about the design assets that we're building. and using a tool called PatternLab to be able to make it easier for visual designers, front-end developers to work together and to iterate in the same space.
Yeah. Could you tell me more about how PatternLab helped you as a UX designer work with developers? Was it a helpful tool for shaping the conversations you were having with your developers and presumably your client stakeholders?
Yeah, it was great in particular for the visual designers and the front-end developers to be able to kind of share a single asset library, right?
Sure.
Instead of having all these different files, we had a one shared space. I also heard from the front-end developers that it was really great for them to have a way to be able to kind of iterate and prototype on something without having to rely on having something built by the back-end developers, without having to rely so much on the visual designers. From a UX perspective, it was really great to kind of have everyone having to center early on the types of components we were going to be using, what purpose they would serve, and to make sure that we were all on the same page about just what needed to be built and having kind of a central space to look at and to reference.
Sure, so it's a common space for people to work on and share, perhaps an alternative to designers thinking these Photoshop or Sketch files are mine, these CSS files are yours, and hopefully we can make it all work. No, the style guide is ours together.
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Okay, well, Andrea Powell, Senior UX Designer at Blue State Digital, thanks so much for joining us here at DrupalCon Seattle. Have a great conference.
Thank you so much.